A new coach, a young team, heartbreak, and the challenge of bringing a former AFL superpower back to the top. West Coast Eagles CEO Don Pyke has his hands full, but carved out some time for us to have a sit-down chat. Here's part one. All right, Pikey, we're 12 rounds into the Andrew McQualter era at West Coast. How are you seeing it so far?
Yeah, look, clearly from a win-loss viewpoint, not what he would have wanted or what we wanted, but I think we're seeing progress. When we appointed Andrew, we knew what we were getting in terms of quality of guy, coach, and so he's delivered in spades in that space, and we're seeing the side getting better week in, week out. So that's what we're after.
Everyone wants to know about Harley all the time. Where is it at with the contract? I know you've put a few offers in front of him. Yep. You've laid it out clear. Where does it sit today?
Exactly there. That's right. Where we're sitting. We've been in communication with him and his management, and I keep saying to people, Harley's a 20-year-old second-year player. Now, I appreciate that he's unique, and I think that we recognise that. As a number one pick, I don't think any of us have seen a player hit the scene as strong as he did, and he performed through the roof last year. And as much as we'd love to get him re-signed, we're certainly in those conversations with him, but you don't tie him down, say sign here, sign. It's like he'll make his decision when he wants to. He's enjoying his time here, and as much as everyone would be desperate for us to sign him, it'll take the time it takes.
Are you nervous though that you've put these offers in front of him and he hasn't signed them yet? Because if I were you, I'd be going, well, if he really wants to stay, he'd just sign it.
Well, but that's assuming that he actually knows what he really wants as well. I think there's an assumption here that he'll just go, because he might, I don't know, he might go, I want a 10-year deal. We had the conversation. What is it that you want right now? How does this contract offer sort of look for you and bits and pieces? And but I don't know. And hopefully he gets to the point where he wants to make a decision soon, and then we'll deal with that.
It's been a very difficult year for the football club.
Yep.
Off the field, you've lost premiership players. Adam Hunter, we'll start there.
Yeah, well, it was not a phone call you want. I just go to the shower and I get a phone call from our head of integrity to say, here's the news. And you just, your heart breaks for the family and everything else. And then you go into, well, how do we manage that situation? How do we actually help and support? Because a whole range of people are affected. And we saw the same unfortunately, with Adam Selwood. I mean, Adam Hunter was a past player and premiership player and life member of the footy club, so he had a reach, but Adam Selwood worked at the footy club. He was part of the W, he was part of our community group and our academy, so he had this whole wider range of relationships because he was across the staff as well. But it's sort of one foot in front of the other for a period of time, and you try and do what's right and help out, and that's one of the beauties of footy clubs. They get around each other, they help each other, and they support each other, and we saw that last week at the funeral, at Adam's funeral. We had a whole range of past players, past staff, current people from across the industry who just all came together to, in a really sad time, to recognise not only Adam but to share each other's grief and support each other through it.
After losing Adam that weekend, you had that win against St Kilda. What was your overwhelming feeling when that siren went?
Oh, I don't know. I get a bit emotional. I was just proud of the footy club. Yeah. Because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for the staff in particular. They were close to Adam. And the players were probably more upset because the staff were upset. A lot of them didn't know Adam. They didn't know his reputation and his involvement across the club. But they sensed that it was a sad day for the club. So when the siren went, it was quite interesting. I sort of sat back and thought, how are we going to deal with this? And I thought the players showed a real maturity of how they won their first game for the year. You would expect they'd be jumping up around, they'd be all over, but there was sort of this subdued nature to this. It was a great win, but it was a sad win. But it showed to me how great footy clubs are, because everyone sort of came together and all the planets aligned, and we win a game of footy off the back of what was an incredibly sad weekend for the club. So it was sort of this muted celebration of a win, which, and I felt great for Andrew. Probably that was one of my first thoughts, was first win as an AFL coach at our club was fantastic. But off the back of the circumstances was interesting. It was just I had very mixed emotions for the whole day.